Hopefully, my camera will be okay at this. If not, we'll be ready to go. Okay, it is 6:05 p.m. on Tuesday, March 28th, 2023. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the Common Council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Weigel. Absent. Varga.
Here.
Middleton. Here. Crowder.
Here.
Romano.
Here.
In front of you are the minutes from our last meeting on March 14th. Were there any changes or corrections? I did send a correction over to Rosie for Carmen Brown. Carmen is spelled with a K instead of a C. Besides that, I didn't see anything else. Was there anything from you?
I do not.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Tad. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous of those present. Okay, next up is ordinance 2023-2. Do I have a motion to read by title only?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jennifer, seconded by Jenny. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous of those present. Please read ordinance number 2023-2 by title only.
Ordinance 2023-2, an ordinance of the City of Columbia City, Indiana, annexing certain territory to the City of Columbia City, Indiana, placing the same within the corporate boundaries thereof, and making the same a part of the City of Columbia City.
So again, this is the annexation, I guess, first annexation of the Connie Dye property that we've talked about multiple times in meetings here. This is the second and final reading of this ordinance. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding the annexation ordinance? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion to approve ordinance 2023-2 on second and final reading?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Tad, seconded by Walt. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous of those present. Thank you. Next up is a new ordinance for you. And this comes from our illustrious city attorney. So I will let her explain this. Ordinance 2023-4. I will let you explain that. And
Yeah.
we'll read
So
it.
off the top of my head, I cannot remember why I was looking at our code of ordinances, but I was glancing and I noticed that the Board of Works section was way outdated and only had stormwater just listed under it. And I said, I really think we need to explain the Board of Works maybe, since it's the Board of Works section. And so I just revised that section to include everything under the Board of Works and what was, sort of what the role of the Board of Works is. So that's what happened. I have no idea when it was originally in there, but that's why I felt it was time to update that.
And most of this is statutory anyway.
Yes, yes,
Meaning the
absolutely.
state already has outlines a lot of this
Yes.
anyway, so this is really just stating it in our ordinance. So.
Yes.
Okay, so can I have a motion to read ordinance 2023-4 by title only?
Do we have to do this 2 readings or can we just?
Well, so we got to read it first and then we can vote on it, but yes is the answer. Since an ordinance, we really need to do it twice. Since it's not an emergency.
It's not an
but yes.
emergency.
Okay.
Yeah, so is that a motion
Yeah,
to
that's a motion
read by
to
title
read
only?
by title
Okay.
only.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tad, seconded by Jennifer. Further discussion. All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous of those present. Please read ordinance number 2023-4 by title only.
Ordinance 2023-4, City of Columbia City, Indiana, an ordinance amending Chapter 32 regarding the Board of Public Works for the City of Columbia City, Indiana.
And for the public's purposes, again, a lot of this is outlined in the state statutes, but the Board of Public Works it's really the Board of Public Works and Safety. It's part of the executive branch of our city government. They're the chief administrative body. They effectively, I should say, but they handle basically the departments, kind of the oversight of the departments, the administrative functions of city government. So that's really what the Board of Works does. It also acts as the utility board for our different utilities, our water, sewer, electric, and stormwater utilities. And interestingly, the park board actually acts as the Board of Works for the Parks Department. So that's kind of a weird wrinkle in the law, but that's kind of overview of the Board of Works. So, any questions, comments, concerns about the ordinance? Okay, so I have a motion to approve ordinance 2023-4 on first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Jenny, seconded by Jennifer. Further discussion? All those in favor show by the usual sign. It is unanimous of those present. Department reports, Mike.
CSO project at the treatment plant has started. They set their trench box yesterday. Splash pad application has been completed and submitted to IDEM. Started our UV system yesterday morning and doing laboratory testing to make sure we'll be good to go on the first. First quarter cleaning and air release valve inspections on the Steel Dynamics force main is done. And I've got a telephone call to get into Donahue tomorrow for the Jefferson to Main Street force main project. That's what I've been working on this week.
Questions of Mike? Thank you. Terry.
Waiting on quotes to install new fiber from the water department to the new area for the park office and also for Eagle Park, so we can get that system up and running up there when they get its move up there. We're also working on moving some Windows 10 computers to Windows 11 so we can save some money, not have to buy some newer ones that have Windows 11 on it when 10's not supported anymore.
Questions of Terry? Thank you. Gary.
I'd like to start off with a big wow moment. About a year and a half, 2 years ago, we bought the drone with donations from the community. And, you know, we've located a few suspects as far as when they crash cars, run from the car, we are able to find them pretty easy. But a true testament of how important that tool is, about a couple weeks ago, we were able to locate an autistic juvenile that left her home. They couldn't find her, called us about an hour after her leaving. So she was missing about 2 hours before we found her. We found her at 10 p.m. We're driving up and down alleys. We put the drone up, searched the area, the woods over by the bowl field, searched the woods back behind the trailer factory. Started looking towards the downtown area. We're driving up and down alleys, roads. Again, it's dark, so we got our lights on, but so the drone is also a heat sensor and able to see, you know, heated objects on the ground. Was able to locate her in the backyard about 2 blocks from her house. She was laying on the ground. It was 39 degrees. She had shorts on and a t-shirt. I think she was passed out there. She threw up. But we were able to find her, and Officer Brannicky, which is also our drone pilot, was able to guide us right to her, and we got the care that she needed, and everything turned out great. So that's a true testament of how important that tool was to us. So that's amazing. So again,
We have been talking about the idea of doing kind of a training simulation, if you will, potentially even during a council meeting, that maybe Gary can blast up his video up onto the TV and you can kind of see how it's working at maybe Eagle Park or something, but do it that way so that you can kind of watch the mechanism in place. I think it would be good value for you all to see that, but I think the story obviously shows how valuable that tool is for our department. We would have probably never, at least till the next morning, found that child potentially, and thankfully we had that tool at our dispense.
right. We'll hide Tom.
I was gonna say, how about Mike Shota? We could,
Yeah, we're gonna-
right after we say.
We're gonna do a drawing of which
Send
department head we
Mike
want to
out.
hide in the woods.
He
and
can
maybe
go hide
we'll find
anywhere
them. Yes.
in the city limits, and you gotta go find him with the
Yep.
drone. It'll be a lot of fun.
It's 10 out.
Wait till it's snowing.
Yeah.
Officer Cornejo and Officer Bogner, they're going to be officers. We hired them for the police, the 2 positions that we have. They will start, Officer Cornejo is a lateral, which he'll start April 22nd. And Ryan Bogner will go to Public Safety Medical on April 3rd and try to, go through the medical and psychological and through the PERF process. We opened up another process, which has since closed. We received 22 applications. So last process, we only got 18. So a positive there. Three laterals in that process. Road guys have really been stepping up and helping out and fill the road with the shortages that we've had, and really no complaints or anything, so I'm very pleased with that and happy. Officer Campbell and Officer Thomas have completed their 12th week at the ILEA, the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy. They have 4 weeks to go, which this is 3.5 now, so. Dispatch, we had that open position when Ed Scott left. They received 28 applications, with 5 with prior experience, so. Application processes are going good, so I'm happy with that. We have several dispatchers that are going to some outside training, and happy to bring back their knowledge that they receive from that. Everything's
Questions?
going well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Questions of Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gary, with all the people, with all those applications, will that fill all the voids in the department? Or, I mean, let's say you go through all that, you have 22 applicants, you know, and you'll get what, like 5, like, keepers, or that you'll
Right.
continue down the process
Well,
of
that was my hope this last time. We had 3 open positions, and we got it down to 2, so.
So do you think you'll fill those 2 with, out of this?
Hoping so, yeah. I think, I mean, going through the apps, obviously, you don't know until you do
Yeah.
interviews and all that, but, yeah, I think we have some pretty good candidates, so.
Are a lot of them local, or?
There's 9 local and 12 outside.
Thanks.
That equals 21.
Right. So, I guess there's 10 local. I didn't include that one. I got one today.
I'm
so
sorry, Jamie.
10, he's local.
Yeah, obviously,
Gary didn't know there'd be a math.
sorry, I was unaware.
Math,
We
math,
put you on the
math.
spot, Gary.
No, math is my best.
Yes. Questions of GP? Thank you. Kelly?
Well, the street side of our department, we have limb pickup starting next Monday.
Wow, already?
Yeah, already. And we'll be going through the cemetery, cleaning that up, getting ready for summer contract mowing. And just been doing street and alley maintenance and then sign maintenance too. The sewer side, we've had our televising truck and jet machine in the Columbia Shores area. Our goal is to try to get all of Columbia Shores televised and look at the pipe and clean it as we need it. We've been finding, you know, that pipe is probably put in the 50s. There's clay tile in there, and some of the main is broke down in spots, and there's roots infiltrating in the joints. So we've had a root cutter in there trying to clean those out, and then we have to do some point repairs where we'll have to dig up some areas and some easements and get those fixed. And so we're just continuing on that. We're over halfway through that area, and just gonna keep working on that for now.
Questions of Kelly? Thank you, Kelly. Tom?
Well, first of all, I'd like to tell you, that one day I was down at the MSF talking to the city mechanic about something, and Kelly invited me to take a look at that thing they use in the sewers. If you've never seen it,
Oh, the camera.
yeah, if you've never seen it, he's got it on video and you can watch it. It's pretty impressive, so.
It's basically the camera, the root cutter coming at the camera, and then they kind of work together. I mean, you don't want to run into the camera. It's pretty expensive in front of that.
Probably a good,
A lot of communication has to happen there, but it is pretty cool. Like Tom said, there's chains on the end of it, and it works with water pressure from the jet machine, so it spins really fast. And then the chains are just smaller than the inside of the pipe. So it descales the pipe, gets the roots out, and it's a pretty cool tool. So,
Is that something we could see on videos?
absolutely.
yeah, try to get that. in.
Yeah.
Cool, we're gonna have a video now.
Now, is that our second one, or is it still the original machine?
Which one, Walt?
Going,
The camera truck or the,
both,
okay.
the camera truck and
The
high pressure.
the jet vac is a 2007, 7 or 8. So it's got some years on it. We're gonna have to take it in to get some repairs done on it here pretty soon. We'll get a rental from Brown Equipment probably, as they do repairs on it. But the televising truck is the original one we bought too back in, and there's software that we've been talking about, different Granite software that we can get for it. And when we do the televising, you'll see the sewer taps. When we come back into the shop, it syncs up automatically, and we used to have to, the GIS guy had to put the tap locations on the map manually, and we think this new Granite software will be able to load them
Directly.
To, yeah, cut out a step, so something we're gonna look into.
We can pull up any video you wanna see from all of our, I think, right, of all of our sewer line, of the cleaning and the jetting and stuff that we actually videotape, because we upload those segments onto the server, so we actually can pinpoint so that they can go and say, okay, at, you know, I don't know, at East Jefferson Street, we've televised that line, here's what it looked like in 2016 when we did it, now we can compare it and go back and forth. We've found lots of fun things in our sewers, as you can imagine.
I bet.
So, but yeah, we can definitely show you some video of that at some point, yeah. Okay. Other questions?
Just maybe, I don't know whether you want to give an update when trash cleanup is, junk day?
Oh, do you want me to do that?
I don't know what it is actually, Rosie.
So,
We just pick up the appliances, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
so, yeah, so junk pickup is, so again, as a reminder, junk pickup is, we split the city down the middle, just where our normal trash pickup splits. So that's State Road 9. So on the west side of the city, so west of State Road 9, everything west of State Road 9, will be the week of April 17th. So we tell everybody, have your stuff out by Monday morning, to ensure pickup. If it's out after that, I can't ensure that it's going to get picked up, right? But we do have the list of requirements on there. As a reminder, again, for the safety of the trash company employees, mattresses, beds, box spring kind of thing, as well as any kind of, you know, fabric furniture, if you will, those all need to be wrapped in plastic. That's an important part. Also, as normal, we don't do big concrete pieces, brick pieces, rocks, things like that. We don't do those kind of things. Then the week of April 24th is the east side of Main Street. So I do know that the clerk treasurer's office is accepting calls for appliances and tires and those kind of things up until May 1st. Is that right? So if you read our list, if you will, of the kind of do's and don'ts of trash, you'll notice that there's a place for appliances, tires, things like that. Those major things have to go through the clerk treasurer's office. You got to effectively schedule those to be picked up, and that's those need to be called in by May 1st. May 1st. So
So I have a question. I've seen mattresses out already.
okay,
They're not wrapped.
right? They will not collect those mattresses that are not wrapped in plastic.
So since we've got a little bit of time, should we have like an officer stop and give them a notice or tell them that? I mean, it seemed like last year we had them laying there everywhere.
I
There
know.
was some stuff that laid for a long.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. So I don't have a problem with that. If Gary, if you think that your officers, when they're out and about, if they wouldn't mind doing a stop and knock, just to let people know that if it's a mattress, a box spring, anything to do with bed, basically, except for the headboard, obviously, but mattress, box spring, and/or any kind of furniture that has fabric on it, it all needs to be wrapped in plastic, or they will not pick it up, and they will have to dispose of it at their own cost. So,
We could give the guys a notice when it is, so they're not repeatedly going to the same house.
yeah, what I was gonna say, I mean, and all they really need to do is just pass out
Paper.
the paper that we have.
Right.
I mean, and Ashley can help print those off or whatever needed, but,
Yeah.
you know, again, I agree, I think that's a really good point. We've tried to put a little more emphasis on that mattress piece this year, but again, there's only so many sources of information we can get, or we can utilize to get to people, so that is a little bit of a challenge, but yes.
And the longer those things sit outside and get rained on. this time of
Heavier
year,
and
like,
worse,
it
yes.
just makes the problem
Yep,
worse.
absolutely. So I think that's a good suggestion, Rosie. So,
We'll be proactive on it. That's-
Yep.
Because last year we was more reactive.
yeah.
after they
And
weren't picking up.
and the other thing about that, now that you remind me about last year, is that this is only for trash customers of the city of Columbia City. So if someone, a private business, for instance, puts stuff out, we don't provide that. We don't provide that service because they're not paying for that service effectively through us. So it's for residences. Yeah. Okay. Tom?
just a little food for thought. We could really control it and just have everybody take their old mattresses to your place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That would.
112 South Chauncey Street, fire station.
Just a few things. We had a surprise piece of damaged equipment this past week that was quickly discovered, well, it was late last week, actually. And everybody was pointing fingers at each other and who did it. And one of our young guys, well, Colin Iden, said, I think that lines right up with where the Plymouth vent, which is our exhaust removal system, hooks up to a truck, and then as you're pulling out, it disengages from the vehicle and swings back into the station. He said, I think that lines right up with that. Well, it does, 100%. We had the van getting brakes replaced. The guys brought that vehicle into a location it's not normally parked, and the hose came back and smacked it in the front and did some damage. So it took away our little mystery of how the damage occurred on this truck. So if you do see it out at Buchanan's, it was not wrecked. It was because it was parked in a spot that's not normally. Nobody thought that would happen.
That hose swung back further than they expected.
Yeah, and it did. So that was kind of a fun little mystery, but it kind of stinks that it happened. I also asked the Board of Works for permission to start a hiring process. Kyle Walters turned in his letter of intent to resign. He's going to pursue personal endeavors under entrepreneurship, and I think that that's where life takes him, then I wish him good luck. And then also requested permission tonight from the Board of Works to request for sealed bids for a new fire truck, both of which they granted. So just kind of posting you on that.
Questions of Tom? Thank you. Marcia,
Nothing.
Rosie.
Nothing.
A lot of things happening right now, as you can imagine. I will obviously make a mention of the hot topic right now. As I mentioned in my Facebook post, obviously we're frustrated and sad and disappointed and lots of other emotions that we're going through regarding the park director. But I will say, Chip Hill, our community development director, has stepped in to be the interim during that time period. We will probably do a hiring process sometime in mid-April. But again, as I've mentioned before, we are fully cooperating and providing documents and all those kind of things over to Indiana State Police as well as State Board of Accounts. And so there's really not much we can say until the investigation is completed and the prosecutor has decided what to do with that information. But I just say that I am really proud of our park staff persevering through this obviously really challenging time. They are continuing effectively, programmatically the status quo, and they are handling it very well. And so I'm really proud of the effort they're doing. That's the reason why Chip's not here tonight, is he's at a baseball softball parent meeting tonight. We had park board last night that Chip and I were both at, and they are obviously really interested in looking at ways to improve our park system and things to that effect. So I think we're going to be looking at kind of that broader perspective there. But I do want to give a kudos to my co-pilot who is just who really has gone over and above to make sure that kind of get everything in line, do everything we need to do, provide all the documents, all that kind of stuff. So Rosie's done a great job of that, and I really appreciate her her focus and her help on that front. On the broader perspective, there is lots of things happening at Park Board, or we're going out for that first bids for the first phase of Eagle Park. So that's the skate park, pickleball courts, trellis with swings, some sidewalks, street/parking lot repair there, things like that. We anticipate those bids, I think, are going to come in the third Monday of next month. And hopefully at the following Monday, the park board will be able to approve one of those bids and move forward with that. So that's a good thing. We're finally getting some progress on that. Tomorrow I will be down at the State House for State House Day for the Mayors and Commissioners Caucus of Northeast Indiana. We're going to be down there talking to people and talking about our caucus and Northeast Indiana and all the great things about Northeast Indiana. So we have that going on. Continue to have conversations on obviously US 30 and what the future of that will look like with the PEL study. Again, if you don't know what that is, It's Propel, Propel, US30.com, and you can find out kind of what process the Pell study is going through, where it's at in those phases. They just had, I think, a public meeting. I don't know if it was last week or if it was yesterday. I think it was last week, maybe Friday. But long story short is that they were having that at the library, and they welcome that input from our constituency. I've been trying to push all that out every time it comes up out on social media. And then, let's see. Obviously, next week is spring break, so we have lots of staff members that will be gone with their families for spring break. Many of you may be gone also for spring break. I will be here. So, happy to continue working on things, obviously. But a reminder that Friday the 7th is Good Friday. We are off that day in observance of Easter / Good Friday. So, City Hall will be closed on the 7th of April. Also, maybe one other thing, I don't want to hold you for too long here, but one other thing to know, solid waste board, the solid waste board for recycling. And Jenny's on that too. And so there's been some meetings I've not been at because I've been out of town and stuff, but it has been a struggle. It has been a real struggle with GFL. And I think we're getting a lot of public feedback about GFL and their issues and their pickup, I'll say inconsistency, just saying that they'll pick it up the next day if they miss it, and then they don't show up, and then they don't show up, and then they don't show up. And so I know the constituency in the city and in the county is very angry and frustrated by GFL. And as a board member of the Solid Waste Board, Jenny is too, we are actively pushing to either correct it or find a new vendor, because I think we've all had it. Let's just say it that way. And that includes the constituency too. So just want to let you know on that, because we get calls into our office. It's not really our thing. We do have a new director who started last week, I think.
Last week.
Started last week. And I think she's in the office, was in the office yesterday, and then they're doing things out in the field today and tomorrow. We'll be back in the office Thursday and Friday of this week, and hopefully next week full-time at that office. So I know people have asked, can we turn in cardboard? When can we stop by the recycle center? That's really next week / Thursday, Friday of this week is those options. So I think that's all I have at the moment. Well,
Whitley County Regional Sewer District, it's a title from the past. Construction has started. We are in pushback mode in the Stable Acres area. But other than there, we have given thumbs up to start the project in all the other areas that's been identified. There's been a lot of junctions trying to stop the installation into Stable Acres. And what it really boils down to is we feel that the communication that they received has just kind of got blown out of proportion. And so now they're saying what they think, but what not is really factual. And so now we're going to have an open house for all the people at Stable Acres and try to go back and identify their concerns and challenges. And we had a meeting last week, and there was probably 20 people there, and they was all excited that was part of our intention. So the good news is septic system elimination has started. Construction started. In fact, there's a few areas where they've actually completed. So I'll keep you posted as time goes on. But right now, again, I think there's light at the end of the tunnel. It's just a slow process whenever there's a pushback. And the minimum amount of time, it seems, it's always 30 days. Well, we'll give them 30 days to answer, and then they'll answer. And then, we'll give them 30 days to rebuttal. So it has taken that route. So if you got any questions, I'll answer them the best I can. If you get questioned, and probably I would say Matt Shipman, he's the attorney for the project, very knowledgeable of what's been going on. And again, I will help the best I can, but it's very complex of the rules. But I think the good news is we'll eventually get there.
To be clear, Walt, is, when you say construction have started, is that, because there was, I think, areas maybe down in Tellis Village, along County Line Road, there was also the Quessy area, which is what actually impacts us. Is it all of those areas under construction, or are they started a certain phase and those kind of?
Well, right now, the time schedule has been identified, and it's been done by the contractor who's doing the work and the engineering firm, and then they're laying out where to go first, second, and third.
Gotcha.
So as part of the committee, we're just kind of the overseers, but they're really running the show in regards to the engineers and the construction people.
Okay. Yeah, so as a reminder to the council, we are effectively in contract, if you will, with the Regional Sewer District regarding the rest of Quessy that isn't our customers already, that infrastructure will be put in, effectively dedicated over to us at that point. So, and then I know that's something where we're gonna need to make sure that our sewer department is, you know, effectively making sure that they're aware and educated about how all that system works and things like that. But just as a reminder, I don't know where that process is, but that is one area that will impact our utility, at least our sewer utility in that regard.
And when you look at the documentation, it says water and sewage, but it really is just sewage.
Just sewage.
Yeah, their permits and their application is not associated to trying to provide water. That's all I had, just to give you an update that we are making progress. And again, we're going through the court system at Stable Acres, and we'll see what shakes out.
Thanks, Walt. Jennifer.
I have a couple of projects in the works, but I won't have updates until next meeting.
Okay, next meeting. That sounds like a plan. Dad.
I have nothing.
Jenny.
I have nothing.
Okay. Jackson, come on up, buddy.
We won't take it easy on you this time.
Mhm.
Do you just want me to
Same
say
thing.
the same
Yep,
last
same
name?
thing. Yep.
Hi, my name is Jackson Chipman. I'm from Columbia City High School, and it's 2023. Columbia City Youth Council is where we meet as members of Columbia City High School that have been selected to get like the rundown of how the city works and kind of all the important buildings and infrastructure of the town and what they do to provide for the town. And at our last meeting, we began working on presentations for the fifth graders at Northern Heights and Quessy on how the branches of governments work together. And then we went to the Mission 25 and we shopped for them at Walmart with the budget given by the mayor. And we got a tour of that building and how it all works. And that's what we did at the last meeting.
Questions? Thanks, sir. One last thing I remember, just for your awareness, is that during Board of Works, we did approve a contract for A&Z Engineering to do hopefully the engineering of the last two phases of Westgate. So just so you're aware, we are moving forward. The hope is obviously that we can have one of those two or we can then figure out kind of the timeline and apply in the second round of Community Crossings grant this year for next year's construction of the next phase of Westgate. And then hopefully the following year do the final phase of Westgate. So that's the goal, just so you know. But we got to get that engineering up to that 50% so that we can make sure that project is designed enough to go in for the actual construction or the Community Crossings grant. Also, just so you're aware, in the ARP plan that you approved had $50,000 set aside for a downtown plan. And so we have that. It was actually on our agenda for tonight. We tabled it because there was a page missing, so we'll come back around to it the next meeting. But there was a selection process. The process selected HWC Engineering, which happens to be the same firm that actually had applied or had kind of got effectively selected like 5 years ago, and then things fell through and all that kind of stuff. But we're really excited to get them going on that, and certainly, but contract will come up at the next Board of Works meeting, just so you're aware. Okay. Members of the audience. Name and address, please.
Melanie Love, address is 113 East Market Street. So I know by now some of you are tired of hearing me talk, and believe me, I'd love to not stand up in front of everyone and stumble over my words and read from a piece of paper and explain to you how important the issue of backyard chickens is to many of the Columbia City residents. I wish I had the time to sit down with each of you one by one to help you understand. And I wish I'd realized in school how important a skilled public speaking would end up being as an adult, so I could articulate what I've been trying for these last several months to say. Please, 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 make this change happen. There is so much good to gain with so little cost. And if you would like to sit down with me personally, I would love the opportunity to explain to you guys how important this is.
Thank you. Anything else from the public? Hearing none, we will call the meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, Kelly, you have any mulch left?
Hey, Jack.